Hey friends. So I had something literally pop into my brain as I was walking across this room to sit down here and do this post. Because somebody mentioned something in passing the other day. Somebody was talking about the idea of mental hygiene, which is something that it's a term I've heard before. I hadn't, when I heard it the other day, I was kind of reminded of it. I was like, oh, right. These practices that basically they're like sort of brushing your teeth, but for your mind, for your psyche. And there's a whole, I think there's probably a vast quantity of exercises and approaches and, ways to look at it from various neurological and psychological fields. But, the essence of it is just an awareness of how using our mind and the way that we care for our inner state affects us over the long term. It's a maintenance of a healthy psychology. And what flashed for me as I was standing right there walking here was, first of all, because I was sort of like, my interest in this was rekindled. I was like, oh, right. Mental hygiene is something that I feel like I do a fair amount of practices that sort of qualify. But thinking of it in those terms, I feel like is important. And thinking of it certainly in terms of my relationships, and in terms of my work life, and all the aspects of life that sort of have the potential to create stress, but also the potential to create satisfaction and fulfillment. It's good to just sort of keep a tally, keep a kind of a medical record sounds a little clinical for what I'm talking about, but I just mean a sort of, a dashboard of our mental health, of our mental state. And the thing that again, I'm talking all around it, but the thing that showed up for me just a few moments ago was that I think spiritual hygiene is also something worth couching in those terms and thinking about in those terms, because this post for me, this process, and I've talked about this God only knows how many times at this point, this process of sitting down every day and speaking from the highest vantage point that I can access, that was my sort of outgoing intention for this practice, was that I would sit down every day and not just think about, or not just do contemplative work, but actually do some sort of expressive work, express something from the highest place I can access. And often, the fact is, on a rough day, it's happened innumerable times that I either, maybe I left my video post till the end of the day, and I show up and I'm like, oh, what am I going to talk about? Can I even honestly access anything higher right now, or am I just like, I just need to not do one today? And I've been tried to be really impeccable about never missing, because, and especially on those days, never missing, I never miss anyway, but especially on those days, the practice has this profound effect of giving me a moment of where I have declared an intention. I have basically said, this is what I'm going to do with this time. I'm going to access this space within myself. I'm going to regard my life and whatever's going on within my life from that vantage point. I'm going to be located there. I'm going to be located, and to very, very loosely summarize that, that's that space. It's a space of presence, of intense present momentness, and at least intellectual, and generally more than intellectual, in other words, generally emotional and sort of pan-psychological understanding that everything life may be throwing at me is a gift. Everything is evolving me, everything is elevating me. No matter what the challenge is, the reality of spiritual life is that every single event in our life is elevating us. It may not seem like that some of the time. Hopefully not too much of the time, but sometimes it feels like that a lot. There are periods where it feels like many things are not in support of us. They're trying to crush us. They're trying to discourage us. They're trying to cut us down, right? Life can throw things at us that can be hard. But the ultimate truth is that they're all here to help us. And I've experienced that over and over and over and over and over. I've experienced feeling like something is here to hurt me, and then finding out, discovering, usually within a sort of like manageable amount of time, that I was wrong about that. That actually it is here to uplift me. It's here to help me evolve. And so that was kind of a long-winded explanation, but those two things, being intensely present and assuming that the universe is supporting me, those two aspects, if I reside there, if I bring myself to that place and speak from there, I will see anything that's happening in my life slightly differently. And especially on those days when something is, when it feels like a rough day, or it feels like something happens to really kind of take the wind out of my sails, or whatever it happens to be. Those are the days when a practice, which I would now call spiritual hygiene, is really helpful, because I have essentially installed a moment in every day when I just have an agreement with myself to come from this place, to come from a place of that total, you could call it faith, I suppose. Faith and presence. And calling it spiritual hygiene, I'd never thought about it that way, but it actually sort of has a similar effect to like brushing your teeth once a day or twice a day. It's a moment when something that otherwise is used throughout the day gets a cleaning. Same thing here. I have to, or at least I have agreed to show up and be in that kind of place of deep presence and deep trust. And I'll be honest, sometimes when the video post is over, doesn't mean that state necessarily stays for the rest of the day. Sometimes I fall out of it again, right? Like it's not a perfect thing, but like your teeth don't stay clean either if you go and eat dinner after you brush your teeth, or breakfast. I don't know what time you brush your teeth. It's not a perfect metaphor. But I'm really appreciating that. I'm really just having sort of hit upon the term spiritual hygiene really clarifies for me one of the benefits of a practice like this, and why I would attribute a great deal of successful kind of processing and movement in my life to this practice. It's something that really, it has an effect, especially over time. It has an effect. Like doing yoga every day, doing qigong every day, meditating every day. These things have an effect. So yeah, that's what showed up for me today. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great day. I'll see you soon.